business sedan space has seen a lot of action in the past couple of years. We got the exclusive long wheelbase version of the Mercedes-Benz E-Class, and close on the heels of that came the stunning new BMW 5 Series. And a short while later came the lovely BMW 6 GT. And for 2019, Audi will finally bring its much-awaited all-new A6. We in India will get our hands on the new A6 only in 2019. However, I already have my hands on the steering wheel of a spanking new A6, and I'm going to tell you what's new, what has changed in the new A6. I have to put it that way because Audi is continuing to play its don't fix it if it ain't broken card with all its bread and butter models. You might notice then that the shape of the headlights is still the same and the grille only looks marginally larger than the one on the outgoing car. But look again and you will realize that the new A6 now has a more sophisticated stance, and all of it comes from the finer details, like the pinch creases on the side, richer colors, tasteful use of chrome, and a more complex detailing and sleeker profiles for all the lighting elements. It certainly isn't as flamboyant as the new A7 Sportback, but understated elegance has always been the A6's thing, and the new one doesn't drift far away from it. To that effect, the new A6 looks classier and more elegant than before. Step in and you will realize that the cabin has grown larger, and what you see here is not even the long wheelbase version, which by the way isn't coming to India. For the right-hand driven markets, Audi will stick to the short wheelbase variant, and yet the cabin is certainly more luxurious than before in all respects: space, features, creature comforts, etc. The seats can be specified with a new massage function too, and their contouring is tailor-made for long-distance comfort. Like most new premium cars from Audi and Porsche, there are two touchscreens mounted in the center console and a digital instrumentation that's now common in the segment. There's a full-color heads-up display too, should you decide to turn a blind eye to all the other screens. The cabin is also more silent now, and that's not only because of better sound insulation, but also because of the refinement of the new drivetrains. All engines in the new A6 will receive a certain degree of hybridization, or at least a mild hybrid setup, and a small electric motor will assist the engine in coasting at highway speeds, cruising at constant speeds, in a bid to not only increase fuel economy but also to reduce the CO2 footprint, the CO2 emissions. This is enabled using a belt-driven starter generator. A 10 ampere-hour lithium battery pack and a regenerator braking function can recuperate up to 12 kilowatt of energy under deceleration. I also like this little feature where when you approach a downward gradient, or if you're approaching a curve, where you can literally use the momentum that you've built up and not really have to give additional throttle inputs, there the throttle pedal will give you a small haptic feedback, a small haptic knock that sort of reminds you that you can ease off the throttle. It's a small step, a small feature towards improving efficiency both in the fuel usage and in your driving. The new range of engines comprises of 3-litre V6 engines in petrol and diesel variants. The diesel puts out 286 PS of power and 620 Nm of torque and is mated to an 8-speed automatic. The V6 petrol in the 55 TFSI guise seen here produces an enthusiastic 340 PS and 500 Nm of torque, which is fed to a 7-speed S-tronic transmission. Both engines come with the Quattro all-wheel drive system as a standard fitment. Audi will also soon introduce 4-cylinder engines on the A6, and those are the ones that will certainly come to India. With petrol engines gaining popularity in India again, I really hope that Audi brings the 55 TFSI variant of the A6 when the car launches in India in 2019. This engine is really wonderful. I've been driving it for quite some time now, out on the Autobahn, on some of the lesser B roads, even in the city. And whether you're driving at highway speeds, whether you're driving at city speeds, whether you're at really high triple-digit speeds even out on the Autobahn, one tiny dab of the throttle and the engine presents you with the meat of the torque. That's how wonderful this engine is. That power delivery isn't overwhelming in any sense, but it's a nice feeling to have because you always have the power on tap. The gearbox is quick and efficient and helps this engine build speed rapidly. The V6 engines currently on offer also get a 48-volt electrical subsystem that allows the A6 access to some sportier equipment like rear axle steering and a sports differential. These can be optioned with air springs or standard steel springs with adaptive dampers, depending on how sporty you want your business sedan to be. Certain suspension components are now also lighter than before. If the exterior and interior design changes don't make the A6 feel like a generation change for you, then the new chassis certainly will. During my stint in and around Munich, the new A6 shined on the Autobahn like a typical German business sedan, feeling confident and authoritative even at speeds in excess of 230 km an hour. Without a whimper from the transmission, engine or tires creeping into the cabin. But what dazzled me more is how agile it feels around bends. I won't be surprised if it gives the new 5 Series a run for its money when it comes to driving dynamics. Unlike the bulkier A6s of the past, the new one feels light on its feet. Cruise control systems are finding acceptance in a lot of countries, including ours, which is a nice feature. But these current crop of luxury cars are now taking cruise control to a whole new level thanks to radar guidance technologies. Now, you've often heard us talk about adaptive cruise control. The A6 also gets that, which means that it can not only maintain the set speed, but also alter speeds depending on the speeds of the vehicles around it. But what I really like is it can also adapt the speed as per the data received from the satellite navigation. Now, this is not the only car to do it. There are many other cars that also do the same. But what I like about the A6 is that depending on an upcoming curve or a roundabout or changing speed limits, it can gradually increase or decrease speeds. That 1, doesn't overwhelm you, 2, it doesn't overwhelm the drivers around you, and 3, it just takes you one step closer to autonomous driving, and then all you have to do is control the steering wheel. Of course, that does take a little bit of fun away out of the driving, but look at it from a larger perspective, it makes driving quite easy when the situation gets tough. Speaking of the steering, it has always been a grey area for Audi. But I quite like the tuning of the A6 as the steering doesn't feel over-assisted unlike some of its stablemates. It almost feels like it was the final piece of the puzzle, and by solving that, Audi has made the A6 a car that is luxurious when you are being driven around and fun to drive when you are behind the wheel. And that dual personality gives the A6 a new and a more likable character. So Audi's roadmap for the Indian market looks quite exciting. It will obviously begin with the new A8. We drove the car a little while back. It's a stunning piece of technology. It'll come to India very soon, and only after that will the new A6 make its way to the Indian market. So early or mid 2019 seems like a safe bet for the new A6.